Let's look at the first question in difficulty level B challenges called Battenberg Wallpaper. Inspiration for a new wallpaper design came while eating Battenberg cake. The design consists of squares made from the two colours shown on the right, this one here and this one here. The task says to write a program to draw the pattern shown faintly below. So the first information point is, as usual, to create more programming space, use the hide menu button above. And then the second bit of information says you will only need to enter variable numbers that are multiples of 10. So let's first have a look at the design. You can see that the design is similar to one we've seen before, which was the one in the Battenberg Cake Challenge. However, this design only has 4 squares, and in this particular question, we have been told exactly what shade to use as opposed to the normal default red and yellow values. So because we've been told what to use, let's go over to the blocks and have a look at what blocks we have. Now I can see that I have some set color blocks. So what I am going to do is to make sure that my answer is of course correct in relation to the colors, I'm going to set my colors now. So the first color is this particular red over here, which is one down from the one that it's set to. And then this particular yellow is the third one on this row here. Now, we know that at one point we are going to be creating red squares, and then we're going to change over and create yellow squares. Now, there are multiple ways to approach the changing of colors and the drawing of squares, but again, we do want to try and create solutions that are as efficient as possible. So in this case, what we will do is we'll draw the red squares first and then we'll draw the yellow squares. So we're going to leave the blocks for changing colors organized in that specific way. And then what we are going to do is we're going to use our understanding of exactly where our squares need to be drawn in order to draw the squares in the correct place. Now, as you can see, our turtle is actually in the middle location, 200 and 200. So if I was to go over to the turtle and if I was to draw a square of size, for example, 50, you can see that it's going to draw a square that 1 is too small and 2 is in the wrong location. This means that we need to move the positions using the X and Y coordinates first before we draw the square. So let's actually go ahead and move our turtle in the right positions. So you can see here, again, we've got position X and position Y. Now, using our understanding of the grid, we can identify that to draw the positions accurately, the middle point is where our squares will be drawn from. So I can see this is 150 and 150. So let's have a look roughly if that helps us draw the square in the right section. So let's draw the square of size 50, which we know is too small, but let's test that anyway. As you can see, the location of the square is now correct. Now we just need to use the background lighter shaded red box to help us draw the box in the right shape. So let's increase the size to maybe 70. Again, it does say you need to change the variables in multiples of 10, so you won't see me changing it in anything other than multiples of 10. So I won't be changing it by 5s, for example. And as you can see, that's successfully drawn my red square. Now, all we need to do is duplicate this and set the position to the correct location for the next red square. So I know that my square is of the same size for each of the 4 squares. So 70 is going to stay the same. But now I can use my canvas to identify the midpoint section of this square, which is roughly sitting at 250 and 250, and I'm going to use that to then change my 150 for the first square to 250 for the second red square and run it and see if that works. Now, as you can see, both my red squares have been successfully drawn. As we mentioned for efficiency, now that the color with the red squares has been used, we can now use the block to set the color to yellow and do exactly the same thing and draw 2 more squares. Again, to speed up the process, I'm going to use duplicate process. So in this case, I'm going to set the position and I'm going to draw the square again at size 70. Now I know that the size is going to stay the same because all 4 squares are of equal size. I just need to check using the grid the positions of X and Y. So again, if I wanted to draw this yellow square first, I can see that this is 250 and this is approximately 150. So let's change that to 250 and 150 and run that and see if I get my yellow square. So There's my yellow square. And then of course what I'm going to do is just duplicate this again, duplicate my draw square again, which of course is going to remain the same. And let's just identify the last midpoint section of my yellow square, which sits at about 150 and 250. Modify that, test it, and check to see if it works. Now, before I run it, it's quite important to also understand that the values, as you can see here, are pretty much the same, except they're just in different orders. So the numbers 150 and 250 are the only two values that you can see are used for position X and Y, except in some cases 150 is set for position X, as you can see in this square here, but then 150 in particular in this example here is used for Y. So there is also a pattern that you can use and recognize. So let's run this for the final time with hopefully all the 4 squares being drawn correctly, and as you can see, the answer is correct. Did you get that answer? Did you use the grid to help you? Well done if you did. Now let's look at the solution provided on the website. So as you can see here, the solution that we've created is the same solution that has been given to us on the website. However, it's important to highlight again that this is a possible answer. As mentioned previously, you could have drawn one red square and then one yellow square and then another red square and then another yellow square, but that would have required you to change the color 4 times, which of course would have added up a little bit more time when creating the final solution. However, that still would have got you the correct answer. So bear in mind that even though we do have the identical solution to the solutions provided on the website, it is still just a possible answer and not the only answer that you could have created.